In this video, we will learn how to collect data in the mWater Surveyor. We'll learn how to add sites and fill in surveys and synchronize this information with the server. In the previous episode, we created a basic water point functionality survey. We deployed it to our device, and now we will see that it is available to us. I want to show that if you want to do this exercise in another language, the app is available in a number of other languages as well. You can go to the Settings tab and select one of the other languages in the language drop-down. But please be aware that the survey that you've created will not be automatically translated. You need to provide the translation yourself. Also in the Settings tab is the Report a Problem button. If you ever encounter a bug or issue with the functionality of the mWater app, you can get in touch with us by reporting a problem through here. Let's start creating a survey. On the Home tab, you can select Start a Survey, and if you've done the deployment correctly, you will see the survey at the top of the list. I select it, and I see the 4 questions that I designed the survey to have. I'm an enumerator now. I'm in the field, I'm visiting a water point, and I'm going to respond to these questions on the basis of my visit. Good news is the water point is functional, and I am able to get some water from it. I've spoken to local water committee members, and I can see that about 8 hours is how much per day we can expect the water to be available. On the smartphone, I can also take a photo. On my computer here, I'll just select one of the ready photos to upload. This can be very useful in keeping track of how the condition of a water point, for example, changes over time. The last question we had here was, which water point site are you visiting? Sites in mWater are very powerful in being able to display longitudinal data, meaning data that can change over time. The basic logic is that you have one site, a water point, with its basic properties like its type, that persists in a place in the world, and you attach surveys to it, just like you would post posts to a Facebook wall. And then you can ask, when you're building visualizations, can you show me all the surveys I filled in for this one water point site? Just like that. So I'm going to see if there's a ready point. I've already created demonstration point. So in this case, I'll select it. And this is the simplest way to fill in the survey. I filled in my 4 questions. I'm going to click Submit. And the app now records the survey response as submitted. However, it will not reach the server and your manager until the app has been synced. The app synchronizes with the server automatically, periodically, as long as there's a good internet connection. If you want to override that, you can click Sync Now, and you can see that the offline sync was in progress and is now complete. Let's do that quickly again. Start a survey, select the one you want, fill in the questions on your device, or in this case on the web browser at app.mwater.co. And here I will create a site. This has not been mapped before. I'm going to a place in the world where nobody's created an mWater site. So I select Add, and I get taken to a new screen where I create the basic properties of this water point. First of all, I set the privacy setting. I can choose between 3 options. Private means only me or my organization can ever see the site. Nobody else. Protected means everybody can see the site, but only me or my organization can edit it in the platform. And public means everybody can see it and everybody can also edit it. We recommend using protected. That should give the best of both worlds, where other people don't need to map the same site over and over again, but you still get to maintain data ownership if that's relevant. I'm going to enter a name for this water point, and I'm going to also choose the water point type on the basis of JMP definitions. In this case, it's a borehole. The location is necessary. If I'm on my device, I almost always want to use the current location button. What this does is uses the phone's GPS technology to position it accurately in the world. I'm on my laptop, so I'm going to use the map instead and set the location here. You could also manually enter the latitude and longitude from the edit button if you had them available from some other source. Again, I'm going to take a photo. This is the photo of the site that everybody in the world would see, since I've set it to be a protected site. And then there are a few other options of fields to fill in that I'm going to ignore. For example, if this water point is servicing a given community, that community can also have a site of its own in mWater. Same for water systems, schools, and health facilities. Pump and lifting device and so on, I could also fill in. But I've created the basic properties, and now I have a new site for my second response. And once more, I've filled in my 4 questions for my survey. I click submit, and I've submitted my survey. If I go to the app map, I can see these 3 sites. If I look at the third one, I see that I've submitted the water point functionality survey. I can view my response here. I can view it in my tasks tab. Once more, I will make sure I've synchronized with the server, and then we can look at how to manage this data as it comes in. So my enumerators have been doing their work in the field. Where do I see all the results of their work? Well, I go back to the portal, what we looked at in the previous video, in portal.mwater.co. I've logged in using my manager credentials. In this case, I go to the surveys and I select the one I'm interested in. Responses tab is the one I want to see. And now, because in creating the deployment for the survey, I set up an approval chain. I see that all the responses I have made are only in pending status. That means they have not yet been finalized, and a manager has not done that. You don't have to have an approval chain, but if you want to validate your data, it's a good option to have. Now, as a manager of this survey, I can review the responses as they come in and either approve them, reject them, or delete them. I can click an individual response and see the details. I can see that, for example, this is not a borehole or tube well in my reckoning. So I can reject this response and say, please check water point type. This message will then go back to the enumerator, and you will notice this has not been deleted, it's just not going to show as a final response. I will look at the second response, verify that that's okay, and say it's approved. It has now been made a final response, and you can also see the user account that made it final. For the third one, I see that it's pretty good, but I want to edit something about that. Say that I had a phone call with the enumerator and it was actually 20 hours here. I can make the edit straight in the portal. Once I've done so, I can approve my response. If we go back to the app and synchronize again, we will see the message coming through from my manager rejecting this survey. We see an alert tab here on the bottom and a rejected survey here. I was told to change details about this. I can go do that in the map. I'm now back in the site, changing the type to protected dugwell instead in this case, let's say. I've made the change and I submit again. Now synchronize once more and I jump back to the portal. I'm now in the manager's shoes. I refresh the page and what was rejected should now be in pending again. As a manager once more, I see that the change has been made and I've approved all of them. So now all of the responses that have been submitted have been made final, and they will show up in any visualizations that filter by the status. And that's how the flow works in mWater of creating surveys, creating sites, and viewing those survey responses on the portal in the survey under the Responses tab. If you want to dive in deeper into the data of your survey, you can also export responses into Excel, analyze them there, or look at a more detailed view here in this tab, where we'll see all the questions. You can also filter by deployment, randomize the order, and other things. Okay. Next time we'll look at how can you present the data you've collected in a nice visual way.